Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. And this was supposed to be one of the years you could get Patrick Mahomes, and yet not even San Francisco. Do you know that they were never an underdog in any game they played this year? And they were the favorite to beat Kansas City, and Kansas City yet did it again.
Yeah, they were fantastic down the stretch, and I did a top 5 on Friday. Soki, you weren't there. We were getting ready to leave, but I recorded a top 5, and one of the things I said that you had to do was not give Pat Mahomes a sliver of hope and score touchdowns, not field goals. Well, what happened in overtime? You scored a field goal, not a touchdown. You gave Patrick Mahomes a sliver of hope, and what did he do? Just took it right down the field, scored a touchdown, and they won. 1-53 this year. The 49ers were probably the best roster in the league. The difference, again, and I've said it many, many times, the difference is Patrick Mahomes. You cannot give that guy a sliver of hope. This was the best opportunity you had to out-offense the Chiefs that you're probably ever going to have, because next year they're not going to be as sputtering on offense as they had tendencies to be this year. They'll fix those problems. That will be eliminated because that's who they are as an organization. But Patrick Mahomes showed why, he's the next great one, and kicking a field goal to beat Patrick Mahomes is bringing a knife to a gunfight, because he will go get a touchdown.
Well, welcome back, fellas. Hope y'all had a good time in Vegas, and it sure seems like y'all did, and I'm glad to be back in talking with everybody once again. But, I just sat there last night after watching what turned out to be a pretty great game with a very exciting finish, and just realized I may have watched the greatest football player of all time when he played high school football.
Yeah, you did. Well, you did.
I think I probably did. The way that it's tracking right now, I think that I probably did. And he was a safety when I first saw him, Patrick Mahomes, at White House High School. But, that's something that I've been fortunate to be able to just say, and it doesn't mean anything. I'm not going to pretend like I've, had anything to do with anything, or that I'm like best buddies with the family. I know, his father and know Patrick a little bit, but just to know, like, for people that don't understand, growing up in Tyler, where he's from, you heard all the time about Patrick Mahomes' kid. You heard it. You heard it constantly. You even heard about Jackson, believe it or not. But you even heard a little bit about Jackson being a good athlete. And Pat Mahomes, obviously a former Major League Baseball player, but you just heard it. You heard it throughout the years. And then you heard all about this. He's going to go play Major League Baseball. He's a great athlete. He can play basketball. He can play football. But he's probably going to go play baseball like his daddy. And that was just the prevailing thought. And then, got into high school and was a great star in pretty much everything that he did. And then football obviously took over his life. And here we are, guys. And it's amazing. 3 Super Bowls already. Not even, scratching the surface of the amount of time that he's got left, God willing, in the game of football. And so who knows what he turns this into. But just amazing to watch them do it again last night. Amazing to watch him in particular orchestrate them getting it done again. And, you give him a chance to win a game. 9.99 times out of 10, he's going to find a way to win that game. And he and his teammates together are just a hell of a combination, including obviously the coaching staff and Andy Reid in there. We talk Belichick, Brady, you got to talk Reid, Mahomes, and you got to talk all the other great combos. But, man, what Kansas City's done these last few years is just incredible. And, very unfortunate for San Francisco. I mean, you had it. You had a lead again, and you just kind of got got off kilter, and couldn't find your groove and finish that thing off. What a game, what a way to finish the NFL season, and what a player Patrick Mahomes is.
Yeah, the 3 Super Bowls, there aren't many quarterbacks in history. Joe Montana is one. Troy Aikman is one that have won 3 Super Bowl titles, and I know I'm missing one off the top of my head. There's probably
Tom
Brady has 6. And there might be
7.
one other, 7, might be one other that has 3. Here's a note about Patrick Mahomes' resume. Joe Pampliano, who's really gotten to like a lot of what he puts up, 2 MVPs during the season, 2 first-team All-Pros, 6 consecutive championship game appearances, 3-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time Super Bowl MVP, a $500 million contract, owns a stake in those franchises listed below, which is a part of his deal, and he's 28 years old. Now, we have seen some players get off to a really nice start, and then for whatever reason, unfortunately, sometimes injury or things do fall apart, but it does appear as if they're set up to have what might be, and yet we said this about Georgia, a third consecutive championship. Usually something happens, but they do seem to be a well-grounded franchise.
They're a fantastic franchise. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly how to draft. And look, that's why I have no qualms about saying that next year their offense will probably be one of the best in the NFL and not one that sputters at times. They'll go find what they need. They'll find the right pieces. Look, they draft at 32nd. They'll be able to get a really good wide receiver or someone to help at that spot. They'll be able to go out in free agency and do some things. We'll see what happens with Chris Jones. That's going to be a huge deal for their defense. He certainly he made what I thought was the defensive play of the game last night when he got in Brock Purdy's face right at the end and took away Jawan Jennings' Super Bowl MVP from him on that play, because that would have been a third touchdown responsible for Jawan Jennings, and he would have been the MVP, and people would have been talking about him in the same way we talk about Larry Brown or Dexter Jackson or someone like that. But it's it's just they're just so good at what they do. Andy Reid was a guy who's like Kyle Shanahan was at this point. He could get him right to the lip of the cup, but couldn't get it in. And now Andy Reid is automatic, and Patrick Mahomes is just the most difficult player to beat. Earlier on the triple option, I compared it to, think about Jerry Sloan and John Stockton and Karl Malone with the Utah Jazz. Jerry Sloan might be remembered differently, and he was a great NBA coach and a Hall of Fame player and all that. But he might be remembered very differently if Michael Jordan wasn't a thing that existed. And the same thing for Kyle Shanahan. He might be remembered very differently right now if Patrick Mahomes wasn't a person that played in the NFL. But that's just the fact of life, and Patrick Mahomes is kind of the NFL's Jordan right now.
Yeah, I was watching I believe it was a CBS pregame show, and saw some guys, and everybody was making their picks. I guess it's Boomer and that whole crew of guys. And a few of them, I don't remember exactly what each person's response was, but they were all mentioning of like, well, I know the thing is you don't bet against Patrick Mahomes, and then they went with the Chiefs because of that, or they went against the Chiefs. But I'm going to put my neck out there and think the 49ers get it. I just don't know how you bet against him anymore. I mean, if Andy Reid retires, then okay, there's a crack. But if Patrick Mahomes is out there and he's being coached by Andy Reid, I don't give a damn who the wide receivers are. Mm-hmm. I don't care who the running backs are. I mean, I care about the O-line because you've got to protect the guy, but even still, he overcomes that when it's not that great. So, I mean, he's definitely not alone. He's got a Hall of Fame tight end, obviously. He's got several other Hall of Famers on that roster. He's got an incredible defense, a really good defense that's also backing him up. But, yeah, I'm just, in general, if the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, I'll worry about the rest of the details about who else surrounds him. But if the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes with Andy Reid, then I'm going to bank on them being the favorites every year that they're together. And that would include next year, because you already had Kelsey talking about running it back with the three-peat and all of that. So, yeah, that's obviously what their goal is going to be after they go visit Disneyland and do all of the parades and things that are headed their way. But, yeah, just a heartbreaker for Kyle Shanahan. You wonder if he's, in his mind – wondering if he'll ever get over the hump at this point, but he's still a younger guy. He's got a lot of games to coach left. They'll be fine in the long run, but they had a pretty special roster put together, and you don't know that they're going to be able to just run that back necessarily. But yeah, with the Chiefs and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, it's an incredible combination. They've got a lot of really good players around them as well, and so yeah, they'll run it back and see if they can't become the first team to make it 3 Super Bowls in a row. They're already stating that's the goal, so start the countdown whenever you're done celebrating.
We will today have Dave Ammerman. He is Golden's head of revenue and sports consignment on collectibles, on games, jerseys, helmets, ball, whatever from last night's Super Bowl. His thoughts about the value of some of what may have happened or what you would have a chance to collect. Joseph Duarte, as Houston adds long time. He played at Texas. He was all Southwest Conference at Texas. Oscar Giles joining the staff in Houston and also on the Cougars, and number 3 ranked team in the country. Todd Lebo, he's out of Kansas City, Sports Radio 810. He will join us on what's happening today in Kansas City. And then John Wilner on UCLA today, hiring former star running back Deshaun Foster to replace Chip Kelly, who's now at Ohio State. So all of that coming up today on the show. Now, Back in 2019, Patrick Mahomes was having a great start to his career, and there was a tweet about how he had 38% or whatever the number was of Troy Aikman's career touchdowns like in his first or second year. I love Troy Aikman, by the way. I think he's just a model of everything about it. But Aikman responded, talk to me when he has 33% of my Super Bowl titles. Well, he now has 100% of Troy's Super Bowl titles and 136% of his overall career touchdowns. That was kind of cool. And then Aikman today, or maybe it had been last night, tweeted out congratulations to Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, I do think it's funny that people compare eras unfairly. Troy Aikman was a tremendous passer. Was the most accurate passer in the league when he was playing. They just didn't need to do that, and the game was different then. If you put Troy Aikman in today's offenses, he would throw for 4,500 to 5,000 yards a year. I mean, you're telling, like, Dak Prescott's done it. You tell me Aikman wouldn't have done that? Like, come on. It's different. So, different game, different
that's
time.
like looking back at guys in the 70s and 80s. But Aikman, when he needed to throw for 300-plus yards, he did and could. But as far as accuracy, efficiency, and winning, and talk about leadership, et cetera, most of these guys all have that. But he was extra special, no question. And that was just him a little bit maybe sensitive about the numbers, and yet here we are with Patrick Mahomes having his third Super Bowl.
It was 2019 when he said that. Yeah. So, I mean, let's take that into account. It was 4 years ago. So, I mean, at the time, nobody could have said, oh, Troy's going to eat his words. I mean, yeah, who would have thought that Patrick's going to rack up 3 Super Bowls in 4 or 5 years? I mean, so, yeah, he's eating those words now. But Troy was on a star-laden team, much like Patrick was. Difference was Troy's teams didn't have salary caps. They had an advantage there that Kansas City doesn't have. I still don't know how Kansas City and teams like San Francisco put their rosters together and have like 17 Pro Bowlers, and there's teams that have like nobody. I don't know how that happens still with the salary cap, but they truly didn't have one in Dallas's era. And I'm sure, Troy would be super successful. He's not touching Patrick Mahomes, though. I mean, he's not touching Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, that comment at the time, I think probably most people would have said, yeah, go Troy. Like, yeah, who's this? Quit putting this guy in a category he doesn't belong in yet. But now he's past that. I mean, he's going to surpass that probably in the next couple of years the way it's going right now. And I'm sure Patrick is having a lot of fun with all the people who doubted him over the years and things like that. But a harmless comment by Troy dug up, and that's understandable. There's a lot of those out there, a lot of receipts out there when it comes to the Chiefs. All the hand-wringing I remember hearing throughout the year of just like I just never got into it because it just felt very much like the media trying to make something. I understand Kansas City struggled at times, but this whole idea of just I don't know. I don't think that's a team you can ever rule out as long as their quarterback and their head coach is there, like I said earlier. So here they are, and the question now becomes, forget Troy Aikman. I mean, Tom Brady just retired like yesterday, basically. I mean, he retired a year ago. And there's no way that when he retired, he thought he'd already have some young kid on his heels chasing his numbers down. And I tell you what, Patrick Mahomes is 28 years old. He's already got 3 titles. That's the number you now start watching is the Tom Brady number. I guess what Montana would be next.
Well, you have Montana, Bradshaw, Aikman, and there's one other I think.
Oh, he's
and
past
Mahomes.
He's past Aikman.
With 3,
he's tied with Aikman.
Or tied with Aikman.
He's
yeah.
tied with
Aikman has 3.
Yeah, okay,
Montana,
Aikman,
Aikman, Terry Bradshaw, and Mahomes have 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Montana has 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Montana
has 4.
That's right. Steve Young. I'm thinking about when Young won it against San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, he'll be up next for starting to knock on the doors of those guys as far as all-time Super Bowl titles, and that's the countdown. So yeah, this next one he'll pass Troy and go chase some others, but the Tom Brady and that number will be something to watch for sure.
Bradshaw has 4 too. Went all in the 1970s, including the last one against the Rams. Okay. Yeah, I agree. 7 Super Bowls, and here we are with Mahomes, and you never know. He might get to 4, he might not. He might not get to 5 or 9 or whatever. We don't know, but it's a hell of a complete resume that he has already, and love the way he handles his business and separates whatever's going on with football and also off the field. Now, the Super